Now let's go ahead and dive right into this MMA 15 fight slate, as always with Kevin. And I am all tangled up in my cord right now, so this is fun. Kevin, you ready to do this? It's been a couple weeks. 15 fight slate. Yeah, I'm good. Are you okay? You don't sound okay. Are you dead?
No,
You're
I'm
dying.
okay. Are you okay? Are you tangled in your cord? Are you
yeah,
okay?
no, I am. I'm tangled, but I'm good. It didn't cut off my circulation or anything. We're good.
I get scared.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Let's go ahead and do this. Do you want to recap the last slate, which was 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So last slate was 2 weeks ago. It was UFC Fight Night, Vieira versus Tate. It was an okay night for us. Certainly had its ups and downs, Matt, but had Pinheiro and cash, and she won, but I don't think she scored super well in the process, especially for her price. We had Yalan as live and did pretty damn well, so that was nice. Durden did well, and then had that wild post-fight interview. Did you hear that, Matt? Did you ever end up
Wait, which one was
that?
it?
Durden.
Durden. What happened? I heard it. No, did I see that one?
So
explain it to me.
So I think also the way we're conditioned these days.
Oh, Matt, it was the one where he said the racial thing, or it was borderline racial, and people took it obviously and ran with it.
And I'll tell you, I think it's because the way we're conditioned these days. I took it as offensive. I was like, oh, you can't fucking say that. Bye.
Right.
And
but we can as human beings, but you can't say that and be.
But also, like someone made a good point though. Someone was like, oh, because he said, go back to China where you came from, and I think it's just the fact it was China that makes it. I don't know if it's because just of the relationship that the U.S. has with China or what, but it was like somebody get a good point. If the guy was a fucking fighter from the Netherlands and he was like, I had to send him back to the Netherlands where he came from, everyone would be like, you know what I mean? Like it just
head back to Canada with that.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, that's funny. Yeah,
so back to Canada where he came, no one would say shit. Yeah. So it is kind of weird because it is kind of a double standard like that. So it was like, but I don't know.
It's funny when you guys were discussing that in Discord chat, like I just roll my eyes and continue on with my day. So.
Yeah. Either way, I mean, just bad PR move, fucking idiot.
Sure.
But
yeah.
Either whatever. I don't I don't get too involved in that stuff anyway. Yeah. But anyway, Godinez was back to live. A little hesitant from her previous performance, but I did say her size advantage was back on her side in this one, and or the size advantage was back on her side and showed. She looked good. This card was honestly wild, Matt. As I kept looking through the fights, I started remembering them all. I'll tell you, this is just a key example how volatile MMA can be, Matt. There was one single finish on the entire card. One finish on the entire card. And you know what it was? It was Taya Santos.
Santos, right.
Who had the lowest finish chance on the entire slate at plus 200.
Oh, that's a fun fact.
Yeah, she hasn't finished anyone in her 5 UFC fights. And you just can't predict MMA because that was the only finish. So
ownership on Santos was relatively high, but I think that was
she's a good winner and she's an okay scorer.
Right.
Yeah. And but other than that, yeah, it's insane. It's insane. So you never know what to do. But it's also a very wrestling heavy night, Matt. If you look just do a little quick synopsis here. In the first, just going before we even hit the main card, okay? First fight had 2 takedowns total. Second fight, 6 takedowns total. Third fight, 6 takedowns total. Fourth fight, 6 takedowns total. Fifth fight, 10 takedowns total. Sixth fight, 6 takedowns. It was a wrestling ass night, Matt.
You must have loved that.
To a degree. I like watching good wrestlers wrestle. But that's the thing. I say total because one would have 3, the other would have 3, one would have 2, one would have, you know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe someone was a little more dominant. And Cody Dern's an alright wrestler. Pat Sabatini was a D1 wrestler. But it's usually I like watching a real high level wrestler just light someone up. So,
right.
And it did get a little more punchy in the main card, and I'll get in that in a sec. Which was we talked about. Some of those takedown fights. Levy and Rafa was on there. It was okay. Sabatini wrestled like I said he would. He's a good wrestler. He wrestled well, fought well. But then we get to the main card with Yanez and Grant. Lived up to the hype. Very close stand-up fight, Matt. I had both live. Unfortunately, it didn't score very well, but it did stay standing. I mean, both had about 100 significant strikes, so it was a pretty good stand-up affair. Just wasn't quite enough octane-wise and with no finish to make the optimal score too well. I'll give myself credit for overexposing and spamming Ronnie Yaya, as I always do. And I said that stylistically. What'd you say?
I said that you did.
Yeah, I said stylistically, Matt, that this was a bad matchup for Kang. Kang's a good grappler. Ronnie's better. I just believe in that. And Ronnie took him down, a little rough first round. I think he got knocked down, almost finished. But then he came back and whipped ass. 3 takedowns, 150s total strikes. I don't know how he scored with the lack of SIG strikes, but he did look pretty good in the process after that first knockdown.
I'm actually so confused right now. I'm just forward looking to the optimal, and I don't have any randomness on at all right now. I'm just sitting here kind of mind blown
At the optimal?
Yeah, I don't know how this can be the I don't see how this could. Santos at 125, Durden at 93. Those two make sense. And then Miesha Tate and Vieira both made it in as a stack. 63 points, and Vieira scored 83, so I can see how that makes sense. But
what did Tate score? So the stack made the optimal?
Stack did make the optimal 63.
That's shitty slate, man. I told you
63.56, and it looks like.
I was gonna say this had to be the lowest scoring optimal I've ever seen.
I was about to say I'm not even close to done. Okay. Kang is that was a loser, correct?
Yeah.
Kang and the other person Kang was not fighting against. Yeah. Oh, I'm an idiot. Hold on, I'm a complete moron.
Okay, good.
Everybody, pump your brakes. I just lied to everybody. The main event did not make the optimal. I had a bunch of people unchecked, and that was because I was limiting my player pool before lock. Got it. We are done. Move on. We're moving past this. Don't just ignore everything I just said. We're good.
Thank goodness, because I thought you were going to tell me Kang made the optimal.
Yeah, no, that's what I was getting at for a second. Yeah, okay. I'm a moron.
Okay, cool.
Maybe a moron sometimes. Goodness. Continue on. What fight were you breaking down?
Ronnie Yaya. What did he score?
He scored, and he did make the optimal 104.88.
Let's go, savage.
Yeah.
Then Taya Santos obviously made the optimal. It's the only finish on the slate. What'd she score?
125.
Oh my lord, that's a pretty high score. Brady versus Chiesa. I feel pretty good about my call here, Matt. I said I loved Brady, but I thought Chiesa was a bad matchup for him stylistically, and that Chiesa could absolutely beat him. Here's the thing: I do think Sean Brady had more sauce than I thought. I think Sean Brady's good. I always thought he was good, but I didn't think he was quite at Chiesa's level, maybe, or at least to be as favored as he was in this fight, and he showed me he belongs there. But Chiesa poured it on. I think if he just took over and really went after it in that second round, he would have won the fight.
Yeah, I think
it took him to the third.
It went exactly how you thought it would. I think based on
for the most part. I mean, it took him to the third round to get after it, and I'll give Chiesa credit. A lot of guys will fight not to lose, or they don't want to go for it, and they just want to hope they get a squeaked out decision. Chiesa, that third round, was trying to murder Sean Brady. You know what I mean? He was really, really trying to get after him. Just a little too late. 100% won the third round, but Sean Brady won the first two, and Sean Brady's tough, man. He's a very tough kid, so I like Sean Brady. Definitely got to give him a top 5 opponent next, but looked good. Didn't score super well, but looked good in the process. And then Vieira versus Tate sucked. It just sucked. I think Vieira.
By the way, neither one of those two made the optimal, and we did say fade the optimal.
We did say fade the optimal. Yep. I mean, fade the main event. Yeah. Caitlin Vieira, I think she could have poured it on Miesha Tate. Looked like, and announcers saying this too, that she was giving her too much respect. Too much respect for her name. She should have fucking lit her up. Miesha Tate is washed, and I love Miesha Tate very much.
Yep.
I said this last fight. I said, I didn't know how she's going to look against Marion Renault. She looked pretty good against Marion Renault. Actually had her best DraftKings performance. But again, Marion Renault is an absolute bag of shit, trash bag. No offense, Marion Renault. But
bag of trash, trash bag. Guys, yeah. That's what
I think I said bag of shit, trash bag. Oh, maybe okay. I said bag of trash. Either way, bag of shit, bag of trash, shit, shitty trash. I don't care. She's awful. She's on a 5-loss streak in the UFC. And Miesha Tate, I don't think has the sauce anymore. She looked okay. She didn't look terrible. Don't get me wrong. But like I said, I think Ketlin also could have poured it on her a little more. But let's get off that slate, Matt. Let's work to this new slate. We got a lot of fights to cover. We'll bang it out real quick, guys. I'll preface this by saying, been busy as hell this week. Haven't had a great amount of time to sit down and work on this, but I'm giving you as much effort as I can. So some of these fights, I didn't quite
wrestling
cover as well.
Season is back for Kevin.
Wrestling season, yeah, big wrestling season.
Kevin does have a life outside of DFS, believe it or not.
Unfortunately, I do. But so that being said, I'm just going to talk about this first fight, which is not actually the first fight, but it was added late. And it was one I didn't get a chance to write on too much. It's Brian Barbarini versus Darian Weeks. As a -175 finish chance, good pricing, looks good off the rip. I'm going to ask you guys to do your own research on that one because I don't have as much info on that one. Moving on, Louis Smolka versus Vince Morales. Smolka, I'm going to put green here, Matt, off the rip as the favorite. Pretty volatile guy historically, but sometimes it makes for a great GPP fighter, which is what he is. I wouldn't expect a win from him ever, but he scores pretty well historically if he wins. He's a strong finisher. Morales has been just okay in the UFC. He really hasn't scored too hot. I will mark him orangish yellow here because the only upside I see is Smolka getting too aggressive and susceptible to being caught and submitted. But realistically, Morales will score poorly in a win most times. So Smoke will be green, Morales will be orange-ish / yellow.
I'm sorry, you said Smoka will be orange?
Green.
You said green. You said the opposite. Gotcha. All right. Before we go any further, you guys love to hear the benchmark, right? So on a 15-fight slate, you would expect to be more spread out, and it is. The benchmark percentage coming in at 26.3%. We usually give that percentage for the top 6 fighters. Anything above that's going to be cash consideration. Anything below that, we're really looking to get different GPPs. So 26.2 is going to be the benchmark, 26.3 rather. And both of those fighters are showing pretty decently high owned, Kevin. Smoka, 29.8. So in that cash category, I would assume because of the price tag. Again, all the odds are pretty spread out here. They're not too they're more condensed than normal, I would say. They're not spread out. Morales at a plus 124 is 15.1% owned, Kevin. So combined wise, do you consider Smoka a cash consideration?
Yeah, I do. I think, I can, for ownership, yes, but I mean, it does scare me a little bit because he is a pretty volatile guy, historically speaking. But yeah, it's not bad.
It looks like when he wins, though, he wins pretty well. He scores well.
Yeah, no, he scores very well. That's why I like him.
It looks like the public agrees with that.
But yeah, I'm looking right now. It's funny, I just opened up my internet here. Joe Lozon right now, he runs this thing. It's called the Joe Lozon Contender Series, and he basically has 2 guys from his gym just randomly will like record them like fighting in the cage or doing crap. It's like Dana White's little Contender Series version, but I was just watching. That's kind of funny. But yeah, moving on, we got Alex Morona versus Mickey Gall. I'm surprised this fight is so early on the card. These guys are both pretty savvy UFC vets now. Think it would be a main card fight for sure. Kind of weird being a prelim or undercard, whatever you want to call it. But Morona, very good fighter, very good winner, giving him, double-digit wins inside the UFC if he wins this one. He's good, man. He's scored pretty well. I'll mark him green. I hate his price tag, but he's well-rounded. He should win this one against Mickey Gall. He has good grappling. I think it's going to be a tough style matchup for Mickey Gall. We've seen Mickey Gall have hands against Mike Perry. He looked pretty good. He's been developing his hands. Definitely not just what I'd consider a jiu-jitsu guy anymore. That said, it's still how he's going to win most of his fights. I don't think I'm going to put Mickey I don't know. I want to put him green/yellow. I think he's good. I think he's underrated.
He's going to be green after this ownership. So.
After this ownership, okay, so you can put him green. But the only way I think like I said, he finishes his fights is probably to sub him, and Morona's gonna be tough to sub stylistically. So I guess I'll put Gall green then. What's the ownership here?
What's the finish percentage on this fight?
Plus 120.
Plus 120. Okay, so then ownership is very, very low on both of these guys, Kevin. I think this is a fight you're going to want to be overexposed to in GPPs at least. Yeah, and again, the price tag, like you said, is scaring a lot of people off, which means if you're weird, you're gonna love that price tag. So 14.2% on Moreno, and then Gall at 12.1%. So they're both very, very low. I think combined wise, this might be one of the lower ones on the card.
Yeah, that's crazy. Looking at Morono's
previous scores have been up there.
Bro? Yeah, I'm trying to find him.
106, 126. He's also had some bad ones, but whenever he does finish, he does very, very well in terms of scoring.
Now that fight's showing, I'm telling you, Matt, this whole week has been an absolute shit show. So now I'm looking on DraftKings. I'm not sure where it is officially now, but yeah, okay, now that fight is on the main card. Makes sense.
So we really are all over the place.
Yeah, we all are all over the place. It was, I promise you, it was not.
It's not in Fantasy Cruncher, so I believe you.
Yeah, so it's just fucking UFC, man. They're just adding fights, moving fights. It's not like no other sport does this. You know what I mean?
NBA does, I'll tell you that. But besides NBA,
I was gonna say, I shouldn't say. I don't know about. But moves the way they move shit around. But anyway, so yeah, and fight order doesn't matter for us. It'll never affect anything. I will never really overreact to where a fight is. But I will say Morona, yeah, he does have some good scores. He's got 3 or 4 scores over 100. So something to consider. I think he definitely his price sucks. But like we said, Matt, getting over 100, especially if there's not a lot of finishes.
126 he scored before, so
it's fine. Yeah, more than fine. Moving on to one of those nightmare fights that, in terms of the fact, was a late edition and just didn't have too much info on it. Is Jared Van Der versus Azamat. I'll tell you this, man. It's a love lister. It's a minus 225 finish chance. I know these guys crack. I don't need to get too cute here. Jared Van Der, who did he just fight? He just fought. Romanov. Yeah, he got beat pretty good, right? Yeah. Yeah, Romanov's tough though. We know that Romanov is still undefeated, I believe. He
looked like he lasted long, but he just got decimated in the process.
I mean, Van Der has hands. He's got hands, and that's always going to make him deadly. He's got another undefeated undefeated fighter right now with Azamat. Azamat is making his UFC debut, so if you think that's going to be a little bit of a factor, I mean, I don't hate you for it. I think this fight stays standing, and I do think someone gets knocked out, though. I would still definitely favor the undefeated Azamat, especially seeing how Vandera is a good fighter. He's all right. He's a very big guy. You know, he's 6'4", 6'5", you know, filled out heavyweight, hits hard. That said, he's very beatable. Gas tank isn't quite there, so I think he could easily lose this. But yeah, that being said, I think it's a love lister, and I don't think you get too cute there.
I completely agree, because the ownership's very low, 26.2 on Azamat. You said that right, Vandera 9.2, which is actually one of the lower ones. Yeah, relatively low compared to some of the other options.
This should make optimal.
Okay, so there you go. This is going to be an overexposed fight, and we have a median projection of 105 on Azamat, which is the third highest on the slate if he does win.
Really? Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I don't see a world where he doesn't really score well in a win. Yeah. Moving on, we got Claudio Puelles versus Chris Grutzmacher.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, very on both sides here, Matt. Obviously, the pricing is great, and both guys can score well, but they can both score pretty poorly as well. Claudio scored 64 points in a finish, which is just abysmal. This fight is just average on all fronts. There's a lot of these fights, Matt. There's a shit ton of mid-range pricing fights that are kind of in the slate. I do think there's a slight contrast in styles here, which does offer some upside where Chris will most likely try to keep this fight standing and Claudio will do the opposite. That always makes for a fight live, especially at this pricing, but this is a pretty shitty fight still, Matt. What's the ownership?
Ownership's pretty low because people don't know what to do with it at all. 22.9% on Chris. Claudio is 21.4%, and this is a toss-up. So this is one where the public doesn't know what to do. You don't know what to do with it. So where are we marking this? Yellow or what?
I guess yellow. I guess.
Okay.
It's a pretty shitty fight, but yeah.
Just don't take it out of your player pool because of the ownership, but that's the only thing I would say.
So yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the pricing. It just sucks. But let's move to a better one. We got Alonzo Metafield versus William Knight. This is one, Matt, I ironically didn't write on because I've written on this fight like 4 fucking times, and it just hasn't happened.
It's in your brain now. It's instilled in your brain.
It's finally, hopefully going to happen. There hasn't been too much change, I don't think, in pricing and odds over the past couple times. I mean, these guys have fought a good amount of times since they were supposed to fight each other. Long story short, these guys crack. Someone should get knocked out here. I do think Alonzo Metafield, with how active he's been, he's, we've seen him have a pretty suspect gas tank in the past, but I mean, he's been looking good his last 2 fights. Smoked Ed Herman, smoked Fabio Charant. So he looked pretty good. William Knight, let me bring him up again too, because again, I don't have this all readily available. But Will Knight, he's a Connecticut guy, so I'm always going to root for him. He beat Charant too in his last fight in August. But, he looked pretty lackluster against Da Un Jung, who Da Un Jung is good, but it just was a very low-paced fight. I remember just being kind of like, eh. But I think this fight should end in a finish, Matt, just knowing how high-octane these guys are. I mean, go look at these guys if you haven't seen them, Matt. They can bind for like 700,000 pounds of muscle. It's ridiculous.
It'll be fun to watch then. I love this fight.
These guys are going to absolutely crack each other. Mac, I don't know if you can switch over to the our chat, but I'll send you a picture of them right now. That's what the fight looks like on it.
Well, I might be able to switch. Oh yeah, there we go. Now you guys can see the back end stuff.
Absolute brick shit houses.
They look like NFL linebackers. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to describe them. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like DN, a couple Miles Garrett's, and
they make Miles Garrett look small. All right.
Yeah, seriously, they crack. So someone should die here. Hopefully,
gotcha.
Hopefully this fight actually fucking.
Someone will die is the final breakdown here. Metafield is showing 19.4. William Knight 14.1. What is that? That just seems very, very low.
I thought Metafield was going to carry heavier ownership, and Knight was going to be the one that was a little bit undervalued. But it seems like both are. So load it.
I'm gonna triple green this. I can actually do that in my optimizer.
Really?
So I'm doing that right now. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, you can give him 1 thumbs up, 2 or 3, and I just gave him 3.
Yeah,
so
give him 3 for sure.
There we
go.
Love
that. Great fight. Moving on, we got Cheyenne Buys versus Mallory Martin. Another one that is more of a headache than anything, Matt. Hate the scoring of Martin. Hate the price of Buys. Buys coming off a monster performance. But again, let's be real here. Small sample size. People are going to overreact. I'm not going to expect her to replicate that 1-minute KO ever again in her career. That's her ceiling. She'll never do that again. Aside from that, she got fucked up by Ruiz. Mallory has a nice win, but also got dusted and subbed twice. So another headache here. Small sample sizes. Pretty volatile. Plus 175 finish chance.
You're being sexist again.
I'm so sexist. I'm so sexist. Numbers are very sexist themselves. I don't know, Matt. Ownership here. I don't see a world where I don't mark both yellow, though.
Right. Yeah. Whatever. I just can't wait for the comments, guys. Again,
Yeah.
it's Kevin, not me. 26.3 buys is showing right below that cusp of a GPP slash cash category, and then Martin showing 17.1. But the ownership does make sense based on what you said.
Okay, that makes sense.
So,
yeah, still just headache. There's a lot of them. But moving on, we have Jake Matthews versus Jeremiah Wells. Matthews is consistent, good fighter. Doesn't necessarily have the pace or finish ability to back that price tag. That's pretty high for Matthews. But that said, he's a good winner. It's tough because I really like what I saw from Wells in his one and only UFC fight. But that's a small sample size. And Matthews is a vet. This is a tough card. Lots of question marks, as I said. But my gut reaction is Matthews is a tier above here. I know Matthews is very good. He has 10 wins in the UFC, Matt. He's got double-digit wins in the UFC. You don't accidentally get 10 wins in the UFC. That's just the fact. His only loss in the last 3 years was to Sean Brady, who we just talked about. So that's my gut reaction is he's a tier above. I really like what I saw from Wells, but it's a small sample size against a savvy vet. So how much confidence can you really have in Wells? You know what I mean?
right. What's the finish chance on this one?
Plus 7 million. No, it's actually minus 110. So,
Minus 1.
Oh, no. Yeah, minus 110.
Yeah, very low ownership again. Wells, 15%. Jake Matthews, 13.6. Does that make you love this even more so?
Say it one more time.
Sorry, it's 15% on Wells, and Matthews is 13.6. So I'm pretty sure that is like the combined lowest we've seen. Yes, it is.
Fucking ridiculous.
Yep.
That's so low. Yeah, definitely love that.
Okay.
Definitely love that more because it's not my favorite fight, but it's not like red flags, like bang, 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 or like red flags everywhere. Like this fight sucks. Don't touch it. Like,
do you know why I think the ownership is showing low on that? And I think all these 9K fighters in general is because it looks like in terms of price tags, the only 9K fighter that stand out is Azamat. Is that right?
Okay.
26.2, and everybody else like in that 9K range is like sub that. What we just read. We just read with Jake Matthews. Matthews is 13.6. Like that's substantially low. Does Jake Matthews have a chance to outscore Azamat if they both win?
I mean, yeah, of course, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Matthews has some good scores in there, sure.
So that's the one thing I would consider because it looks like the finish chance is pushing that ownership up on Azamat because it's minus 217 and everybody else is like in that minus 180 category to 200. And it to me just looks like the casuals are looking at that line and just automatically putting them into the lineup.
Yeah,
but
no, that's kind of weird.
That's my breakdown.
Kind of weird to me, but yeah, that's really low ownership. Like that's like I hate category for fights. Like I don't think that's a hate category. It's not a love, but it's not a hate.
I almost think Kevin, because we're usually on the mid range, like the 8K range, in terms of the ownership and the reasons why we love it is because of lineup construction. You almost have to think opposite on this because the ownership showing lower on these 9K guys, and we might have to get different by spending up and hoping there's a lot of underdogs. Whereas we're not usually doing that. We're doing the exact opposite. We're trying to get to these mid 8K ranges. We're kind of hoping that there's enough upsets in this card to some of these 9.5, 9.6 to 9.3K guys make the optimal because of that. I think that's a great stance to take. Just go ahead and delete everybody in the 8K range, and there's your stance. I think that's a very good process to have, at least for this card.
Yeah, that's smart. I like that. That makes sense. Yeah, it's very weird. Very weird. Like I said, that's in the ownership category of like, you know, just
like
despicably trash fight. Yeah,
right.
like that's not that. It's not on that category, but yeah. So moving on, we have Manel Kopp versus Zalgis Zhumagulov. This is like the fourth fucking headache fight in a row, Matt. Not as bad as the last one with the ownership, makes it a little easier. And Metafield Knight is nice, but like we have a lot of headache fights on this card. Like I said, I like Kopp. He's one of the harder hitting 25ers I've ever seen. I just don't know if A, I believe in his talent enough to pay 9,400, or B, his scoring ability for 9,400. I mean, that's so much, Matt. I do believe in his scoring in general. It's just a lot to pay for a guy who's still 1-2 in the UFC and is at a weight where finishes don't usually happen. And there's a plus 125 finish chance here with even with a prolific finisher like Kopp. So I don't know. I'll mark him green, but it's a light shade for sure. I do think Zalgis will be live here in yellow as well. I don't love Zalgis. I don't like his pace. I don't like much about him.
Oh, wow.
But I think Kopp is volatile, and I have seen him struggle with grapplers, and Zalgis has a little bit of grappling. So another weird fight here. But what's the ownership here?
Zalgis is at the lowest on the card, 5.9%. So that's one thing to consider.
He's not great, but I don't think Kopp's great either. And he's got an interesting counter style.
Does Zalgis have a ceiling at that price tag at 6.8? Like, if he finishes, do you think he's going to score 100 plus?
Have you ever seen Lord of the Rings?
Of course, yeah. I'm in there.
Cool.
What do you
know Bilbo Baggins' house, right?
Okay, yes.
You ever see a ceiling?
Okay. That's what you went to? Like, that's the direction you took?
That's where I'm going with that. Yeah, 100%.
That was so fast too. What is happening? Okay, yeah, that was good. Okay, and you claim to be sick, right? So you have like a foggy.
I got sick brain right now, bro.
Okay.
Big sick brain. Coach just texted me. He's like, I got a 104 fever. Is that bad? I'm like, probably. You're probably dead. Like 104 is pretty high, bud. Like,
so
all
right,
go see
well,
medical attention. Like,
if his ceiling is Bilbo Baggins, are we marking this red for Zalgus?
68
even
though. I mean, how high
ownership?
do you need a ceiling to be? How high do you really need it to be?
Well, for the optimal, you need to score above 90 to 100. So
I don't know, Matt. I don't know. If there's so many, but here's the thing: there's so many fucking pay up options with the slate this size. We got 96s, 93s, 95. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
We have so many high pay up options. What if all the pay up options smoke?
Well, it sounds like you want to get him out of your player pool, Mr. Bilbo Baggins. So I'm just gonna give him a red light.
Okay. Fair.
Top at $9,400 and then give you his ownership 23.1. Right. So still in that category.
You can red light them both. I mean, I don't love it. I mean, I was gonna yellow them both.
I thought you said green for Cop or no?
No, I like him. I like him and I like his ability, but I don't like 9,400 for him, especially at 125. Okay. It's still 125. Like, more times than not, we're not going to get a finish, and that's why we're looking at. I'm saying 125 the weight class, but ironically, the finish chance is plus 125 as well.
Right. Well, then let's go ahead and just give them both reds. Then why not?
Because I mean, realistically, like I feel like that could bite us in the ass, but more times than not, like this fight isn't going to make the optimal.
Hey, we're winning $1 million. We're not trying to.
Again, though, Zalgus, I'm just saying, like, he's trash, but right. Might be sneaky trash. Moving on, Maki Pitolo versus Dusko Todorovic. Finally, a little bit better fight. Minus 155 finish chance here. It's going to be a love lister, Matt. It should end in a knockout. I think this one stays standing. It's one of the better fights on a shitty slate. We've seen, strong signs from Maki, and then he kind of he fell short of expectations, was a little bit of a flash in the pan. Same with Todorovic, though. I mean, he was 9-0 entering the UFC. I think he won his first fight. We're like, this kid's pretty good. Then he lost to Soriano, who is a beast, but then he lost to Rodriguez, who also fits that category beast and is 2-0 in the UFC. But Dusko has not looked as good since. I still think advantage goes to Todorovic here, and I will have more of him. I think he's a better fighter than Maki Pitolo, but Maki does have big hands, and I think this fight stays standing. So I think someone could easily get knocked out here and live up to that minus 155 finish chance. I believe in the ability of Todorovic a little bit more, though. So how are we looking?
Are we giving these guys green lights?
Yeah, it's a love lister for both sides. Then
we're giving that 3. All right. Todorovic, 24.4, relatively low. Pitolo, 15.9, Kevin. Wow. To me, it looks like we got a couple bangers here at the front that are or at the very beginning of the card that are taking a bunch of ownership, and then people are just not watching the entire rest of the card until the last, 5, the main card. So I don't know if you feel the same way, but in terms of ownership, it looks like people just aren't watching.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Like. So if you want your leverage, just fade.
There's a lot of money left on the table right here in this first couple fights, or first 10 fights. I shouldn't say couple. We're pretty deep now, but you know what I mean.
Right. Oh.
So
anyway, that's my breakdown. Let's move on to the next one. Barbarini. Oh wait, you already said Barbarini, right? So are we in the final 5 now?
Yeah, I guess we are, because I talked about real quick Barbarini in the beginning.
Brendan Allen, the football, the quarterback, right? Is he still in the league? Brendan Allen. It's Brandon Allen. It's not Brendan. I know that.
Yeah, who the fuck's Brendan Allen? Yeah, so I said Brandon Allen.
It's Brendan. It's his brother. Get over it. All right, we're covering his brother now.
He was in the league, and then Allen.
Yeah, I believe he still plays. He has to back up for some.
Is he still on the? Yeah, he was on the Broncos and the Bengals, right?
Could be on the Jags.
He's still on Bengals.
Oh. So at least you give him a starting position there, because Joe Burrow sucks. Let's go next.
Damn. So Brendan Allen, Chris Curtis. Interesting fight. Brendan Allen at 9,600, very, very pricey. But we just saw Phil Hawes, I think, at 9,400 fight Chris Curtis. And Phil Hawes was on his way to score well, ironically. So it's like, here's the thing. He was on his way to clear that $9,400 price tag was Phil Hawes. So you can score well against Chris Curtis. But when I talked about Chris Curtis in my breakdown last time against Jamal Hill, against Phil Hawes, I was like, be careful. Be careful. The kid's got fucking hands. He's a good boxer and he's got hands. So something could go wrong. And that's exactly what happened. Phil Hawes kicking the shit out of him. He got caught. You got to watch out for Chris Curtis's hands, and you got to watch out for him here too. I think he's, it definitely has that potential to knock Allen out here. That being said, I love Allen's ability. He usually scores pretty damn well. I think he's got a big advantage on the ground here. And Chris Curtis is replacing, though, both Brad Tavares and Roman Dolidze for Brendan Allen. So there's a lot of volatility here and a lot of, fight changes here. So I think both sides are live. I do like Brendan Allen much better than Chris Curtis. Just saw Chris Curtis put the lights on a better fighter. So.
All right. Well, Chris Curtis is showing 7%. Brendan Allen showing 30.8, and I think just naturally being the highest priced person on the card here, he's going to have cash ownership. People were seeing that, and also the heaviest odds, minus 351, Kevin. So that's that's the biggest, biggest deficit there. I just have to say that that being the highest favored fight out of this entire card is crazy to me. Like, there's so many close fights, and honestly, from a spectating standpoint, this would be pretty fun. This is a pretty fun card to watch. And from a DFS perspective, I think you can get rid of a lot of these fights and gain a lot of leverage that way. But do you consider Brandon Allen, after hearing that, a cash consideration or cash option, cash lock?
I don't know, man. It scares the fucking shit out of me after we just watched Phil Hawes, who's very good.
He is projected to score the second highest on the card.
It's not that, Matt.
It
has nothing to do with projections. It has nothing to do with that kind of shit. It has to do with the fact that Phil Hawes is a very good wrestler, a better wrestler than Brendan Allen, and Brendan Allen's a good grappler. But Phil Hawes is good at taking it to the ground. He's a good wrestler. All this stuff was winning that fight. I mean, I can bring up the stat line. It's probably
you don't
not
have to tell me twice to get rid of this stupid
no, man,
fight.
I have to. I have to do this because now you want to shut the fuck up about it.
I will do it right now. I promise.
See, Chris Curtis. Scared. So, yeah, Phil Hawes was putting him, doubling his pace, total, and his total strikes, his SIG strikes, all in that first round. Had a pretty good pace to him, bullying up against the cage, and then got goddamn lights put out. So, Brendan Allen could do the same. It's not a scoring thing. It's a Chris Curtis hits like a Mack truck thing. That's my only concern. Chris Curtis has 27 fights, Matt. He's got 15 knockouts.
They're getting him a 22% chance to win this thing. Do you agree with that? Think it's a little high, a little low? 22 is about right? Cool.
Yep. I think Brendan Allen's better. I don't need to think about that. I think Brendan Allen is absolutely a better fighter. I think, Chris Curtis catches him. Maybe 22% still a little high. Maybe it's 10%, maybe 1 out of 10 times, but he catches him. He does catch him sometimes. He hits. He hits super, super hard.
All right. So we are leaving that in our player pool. Are we greenlining both those idiots?
I like both.
Cool. All right.
Idiots. Moving on, we have Jimmy Croot versus Jamal Hill. Very good fight target here. Love lister for sure. Jimmy Croot, great athlete, heavy hitter, good ground game. Love him. Very confident that he can and will most likely clear 9,200 in a win. He's a very good scorer, which is how you want to feel when you pay for someone like that. He's a pretty good fighter all around. His only losses coming to Anthony Smith and Misha Serkinov. Hill, another great pick, good finisher, hits hard as hell. I think this fight is going to be fireworks with the winner finishing the fighter. Both guys crack, Matt. Not too much to say. What's the ownership?
Yeah, both are carrying a decent amount of ownership, even at a 7K price tag. Hill, I guess that makes sense because I'm looking at the finish, or I'm looking at the odds here, Kevin, and a minus 178 favorites $9,200. That's insane. And then a plus 148. They're giving him a 40% chance to win this thing, Kevin. That's pretty close to a toss up, right? At 7K. Looks like that's going to be the chalk pay down to me.
I think it's pretty accurate. I mean, someone's dying here. I mean, I think Jimmy Croot is a little better. Maybe call it 70-30, just because of his. But I don't know. Jamal Hill's pretty fucking dangerous. So
Hill's showing 21.4 at a very low price tag, which is actually pretty. That's to me that looks like a chalk pay down. And then Croot is 26.9, which is the 5th highest on the card. So this actually has a lot of ownership. The second highest on the slate.
Jamal Hill just fucked up someone pretty good.
OSP.
Yeah, that's what it was. And then he got torched by Paul Craig. But Paul Craig's pretty good, man. I got a pretty high opinion of Paul Craig.
Seems like a volatile fighter to me. Jamal Hill does.
I will say, the thing that scares the shit out of me for Jamal Hill, too, is like I told you Croot can crack, but Croot subbed Paul Craig, and that's terrifying. Dude, Paul Craig is like really good in jiu-jitsu. Like, really good. He was like competed professionally in jiu-jitsu. Like it was in Abu Dhabi. He took fucking bronze in Abu Dhabi's absolute category. Like that's man. Like and he submitted him. So
this is actually fun fact. I don't know if you knew this. Jamal Hill. This is the first time he's been an underdog.
Yeah, I remember he was a pretty heavy favorite against Craig, and then he was like $9,200 or something at some point, right?
Minus 186 against OSP.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. So yeah, I like this fight though. Great fight. Moving on to a fight I don't love: Clay Guido versus Leonardo Santos. Hate this fight. You guys know I hate these.
Does too.
Dude, I hate these vets that stick around. I love them from a fan perspective. Clay Guido is one of my favorite fighters of all time.
They should just get all the vets to fight on one card and get it over with, and then we just move on. That's what they should do.
Well, the problem is they're fucking good, man. They keep winning. And, like, I love Clay Guido. Like, don't get on my ass. I love Clay Guido. Like, people are going to be like, oh, I think we know, Matt. I like the MMA side of things more than the DFS side. I never try to hide that. But that being said, they do suck for DFS. Clay Guido is one of those guys. I mean, he just had a very close fight with, who did Clay Guido just fight? Madsen?
Guido just fought. Yep, Madsen.
Yeah, very close fight, and he was a very heavy underdog in that fight. He's good. He still has some gas in the tank. He just doesn't score super well. The one thing I'll say is I guess Leonardo Santos does have a path to victory here, a path to score well, where Clay Guida tends to leave his neck hanging. Good wrestler, always gets his neck caught. Always. Leonardo Santos is a good grappler, good jiu-jitsu pedigree. I think that could be the way to end this fight. I'm not going to take Clay Guida. I think he could win. I don't think he scores well, and this slate is way too big.
Yeah, I will say that Guido has scored well. Back when I watched Nickelodeon, Kevin.
I was gonna say when,
but that was a while ago. Maybe more recent. But I love Nickelodeon. Guido, 7.1%. Very low owned. I think that you agree with that. I think the public agrees with you. Santos, 17.7. Kevin at 8.8. At an 8.8K price. Like, do you see the upside there?
Like I said, that neck, bro.
He has scored well. So, What's the finish chance here?
Plus 120, but it's the style thing, you know.
Were you gonna red light or yellow light this anyway?
I was gonna red light Clay, but I was gonna yellow
I think that's
to
right.
green.
I kind of like
Leonardo
that.
just because Clay gives that neck, bro. He gives more neck than a fucking porn star. You got to be careful.
Wow.
You have to be careful.
Oh, that's a good one. You're quick today.
Am I? Because my brain's fucking fried. Moving on, we have I'm ready to move on. Moving on, we got Brad Riddell versus Rafael Fizzyev. Interesting fight here. I love Rafael. Kid is a beast. 10-1 now, top 15 in the world, and I think Riddell is as well. I will say Bobby Green, objectively, I think won that fight. I think he outworked Rafael on his feet, and I think that said, Brad also, could pose a problem for that reason. He's got a good kickboxing and Muay Thai background, elite Muay Thai pedigree. I've seen it on display many times. Could beat Rafael on his feet. We have also seen him add some strong wrestling into his portfolio as well. So I think Brad is not going to be an easy walk over here. I think he's 4-0 in the UFC, and that's why. He also should have a loss on his record, though. Objectively, I think he lost to Magomed Mustafayev, and who actually beat Rafael himself. So maybe we're just underestimating how good Magomed is, but it's another headache fight, Matt. It's in mid-range pricing, plus 140 finish chance. Fight should stay standing, so maybe the winner scores pretty well with just good high striking volume or someone gets a knockout, but it's not a great fight. It just, in general, it sucks. It's just another average fight.
Yeah, it looks like it. The ownership's low on both these fighters here. Rafael 24% and Riddell 16.4%. So yellow, I'm assuming, is what you're.
Yeah,
got it.
It's so many yellow mid-range price fights, Matt. It's just
do you know what? I'm about to just get rid of everybody. Like I said, from about 8K to 8.9.
Yeah,
get him out
that's kind of why I'm saying too. Like,
I think that's great leverage.
Who did I say? Curtis. Like, Ernest. Fuck was I talking about? Who's really
when the
cheap
optimal is 9.5, 9.6. And a 9.1, and then followed up with like a 6.7.
That's what I was saying. I was going to say that's why
happens,
Zalgis at 70 points could make them optimal, because
right.
all the mid-range options suck cock, and the fucking expensive ones are all the ones that have like minus 200 finish chances. Right. Yeah, exactly. So like if you're looking at 4 or 5 guys in the 9 price range.
I'm doing it. When I'm playing tomorrow, I'm getting rid of all the mid-range pricing guys. I'm just not putting in my player pool.
What's your cheapest favorite?
Oh, why are you asking me, Kevin? Why are you doing this to me? I'm just gonna click a button. I'm gonna get rid of all these guys, and then I'm just gonna click optimize, come up with 150 lineups. That's my process. Why are you asking me these crazy questions that I'm supposed to know the answer to?
True.
That's what you're here for.
No.
You're asking me who's my favorite. What is going on? I don't even know. So funny. I don't even know. I had to ask you who Jose Aldo was before the video. Like, and you're asking me these questions.
That's so funny. My fault. I just forgot, Matt. I look to you. You are the god, so I look to you. But
yeah, and I'm a god by getting rid of half the player pool that's in the mid range. That's exactly what my process is. All right, exactly. Rob Font, Aldo, let's hear it.
Let's bang it out. Rob Font. Got to leave with my favorite Rob Font story, as I do every time, because if I feel like I don't, I'll explode. Rob Font, first time I watched him fight was in my local county. He's a Mass kid. He fought one of my good friends and wrestling partners from high school. I think my buddy beat him. I got to bring that up every time because objectively, I think my friend beat him. Lost 29-28. Got a lot of boos from the crowd. I think my buddy fucked him up. Still bitter about that. That said, Rob Font is so much better now. Rob Font would starch my buddy and me at the same time. Like, he's so fucking good. Like, I think he's transcended that tier. I mean, we watched his fight against Cody Garbrandt, Matt. 5-round work of art. His boxing is so crisp. wrestling has developed. He's spent some time, I know, training at Lozon's with his jiu-jitsu. Obviously Mark Delagrati is probably the one, and the guys at City Otong are the ones to credit for his hands, but he's got fucking hands, man. And he beats some absolute studs. Aldo, on the other hand, it's been about 18 years of fighting pro for Aldo. 18 years. He's 35. He still beat absolute studs like Pedro Munoz and Marlon Vera at that age. It's crazy how much gas Aldo still has in the tank, because it's not just it's not just the time. A lot of guys have fought for a long time. But if you look up Jose Aldo's I'm trying to say how long he's been fighting at like what I would consider an elite level, Matt.
His face is messed up. That's one thing I noticed.
Yeah, I think that's
is it permanently messed up? I was about to say, is it permanently messed up from something else other than MMA? Because I feel like
it's not fighting.
Gotcha.
It's not fighting. It's something happened when he was a kid. I can't remember. It's that's why his nickname's Scarface. I can't remember.
Oh,
it's not actually. I think his nickname's Junior, but people used to call him Scarface.
Oh,
but
that's your nickname. Sick. Kevin.
Yeah, it's
Good
my
job.
nickname. Sorry. He's been fighting in WEC since 2008. So his first fight in the WEC was 2008. So he's been fighting at what I would consider an extremely elite level for 13 years, and he's still fucking kicking around, man. It's crazy. Still getting
And he's
dubs.
not even that much of an underdog here.
No, and his only losses, here's the thing, Matt, too. His only losses since then, since he's been elite, Connor.
Yeah.
Holloway twice.
That's the only reason I know him, by the way, is from
Volk,
the
Peter Yan. So champ. 4 champs.
Even I know those names, yeah.
Marlon Moraes, who...
Does he only fight in 5-rounders, I feel like?
Marlon Moraes. Is he for the champ? No, he fought for the vacant one against Cejudo and lost. Okay, but pretty close. So yeah, Aldo's still got a lot of gas in the tank. I think it's live. That's why we're looking at a near even price line and our price tag in line, and not quite near even. Font's a favorite, but we're like Aldo still is clearly getting a lot of respect here. Both have gas for days. I think it could be stackable in cash, Matt, but I do think Rob Font, knowing how he scores and his pace, go look at Rob Font's scores.
Trust me, Kevin, you act like I do no analysis. Yeah. Come on now. I look at these box scores and I check.
Dude, he
I check the boxes.
Off the fucking charts, bro.
Okay.
He scores off the charts.
So
what's his worst win?
I will ask you. I will in a finish or just in general?
Just in general. I was gonna say he's 1 win of 73, but then his other wins 115, 119, 100, 115,
99 plus,
100 plus. They're all 100 plus.
Yeah. Well, if you round up, okay. Yeah,
no, they're not. They're all fucking 100. Like, tell me 99.
99.53.
Who?
Hold on. I clicked out. It
fucking
is
liar.
against Pettis.
Okay, you on the DraftKings website says 100 flat.
Oh no, I'm on Fantasy Cruncher. Guys, look, I'm not lying. Look, come here.
Matt, do we use Fantasy Cruncher for our...
DraftKings rounds up and Fantasy Cruncher doesn't. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right,
I will ask you this though, Kevin. Based on what I've seen in terms of the box score, my analysis here is that although technically if he wins, he has a chance of not scoring well. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
So
that's why I'm a little more on Font.
Because I'm going with my strategy here, right? Because I'm still deleting half my player pool. Can I delete Aldo out of my player pool? Because if he does win, there's a chance he might not make the optimal. Is that
I would
true?
say no, just because of 5-rounder though, because all the other guys
pretty bad in 5-rounders. It looks like.
Let's see. Let me.
Oh wait,
maybe.
Yeah, hold on.
Maybe you're right,
maybe I'm lying.
but I don't know if I can necessarily.
64
let's see.
Against Edgar.
A dub and a 5-rounder.
86.
64. Correct.
78, 89. Kevin, telling you.
Yeah.
It's a sharp move. I'm doing it.
You bring up some good points, man.
I think it's a great stack, though.
And when you're bringing that up, but it's also when you had more gas in the tank. That being said, I think Aldo's going to push that pace. We saw that pace that Aldo had against Garbrandt. Garbrandt's a little bit better dance partner. Aldo is more calculated. We know that. Aldo's a very calculated, slow fighter. Hence why I think you can stack. I think they're probably doesn't end in a finish, and Vegas would agree. But I get why you'd want to do that too. It's just the only other thing I have to say about that, Matt, is you don't like the other options around Aldo's pricing on this slate. We both talked about it. I don't think we do, right?
Do I need to get rid of them too?
Like we don't love Riddell. I'm just looking at similar pricing. We like Mackie Patolo. We don't. I'm trying to see who else. We don't like Claudio, who's around that price. We don't like Vince Morales, who's around that price. You know what I mean? Like, so that's the only reason I'm saying, like, who, if you need to get someone around that price.
But we do love Hill, right?
We do love Hill. Well, Hill's not around that price. Hill's 9,200.
Hill's 7.
I'm retarded. I'm so stupid. Yeah, that's not. Dude, I got sick brain.
You're good. 7. I was going to say Jamal Hill is definitely not a.
Croot's 9,200. Jamal Hill's. Well, I guess that's cheaper too. But
I think it's stackable in cash, and if you're making a hard stance, I think a very good hard stance, especially when he's. I didn't read the ownership to you, Kevin. The reason I kept saying that is because he's 30 point. Hold on, sort by fight. He is 30.2% owned, and Font is the highest owned. I think that was pretty obvious, though. 44.4. So if you're getting rid of a fighter specifically. I think Aldo, you could easily delete him from your player pool. I think there's a lot of leverage there. But I think it's definitely stackable, though. I agree with you based on what I'm saying.
I couldn't agree more.
Like, he's always scoring decent, even in losses. Take out McGregor, obviously, but in like not getting knocked out in less than 10 seconds, he scores pretty well in the loss.
Yeah.
So
no, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think we're both on the Font train.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Do you want to bring this home?
Yes, sir.
All
so
right,
moving on to the final synopsis here. Core play fights. Font Aldo, only 5-rounder. Do you like Font more for his ability in scoring? Aldo isn't quite cheap enough to score poorly and make the optimal. Literally what I wrote before we even talked about that, Matt. GPP plays. Metafield versus Knight. As always, it's great. I hope they actually fight this time. Patolo versus Todorovic. Should end in a knockout. One of the better fights on an otherwise shitty slate. Croot. Best pay-up option on the slate. We just talked about that. Vandera versus Azamat. Carry high finish chance. And someone should get slept here. And then Punts Hill can absolutely land the kill shot on Croot.
All right. That will do it, guys. When I win the $1 million this weekend, just let me know, going forward. Hit me up in the DMs. Just ask for some questions. Kevin, he won't be winning the $1 million because he includes guys in his player pool like Aldo and all that. So just let me know. And if you guys did enjoy this content, please do it. That subscribe button.
$17.
Last weekend or last time?
Yep.
Oh, nice, dude. I think that's 17 more than I won. So congrats, dude. Hit that notification bell and of course smash that like button for all of our future MMA content. With all that being said, have a great rest of your weekend and let's cash.